Hi, my name is Chris Buck. I am your student's AP U.S. Government and Politics teacher for this semester. So just a little bit of background about myself real quick and a little bit of background about this class so you have some expectations about what we're going to be doing. So myself, I've been teaching here for 16 years now. I usually teach civics and government, world studies, AP European history, and just last year we started to teach this particular course as we kind of had a need for it. And obviously, it's pretty relevant for a lot of current event stuff today, and it's going to be hopefully very useful for your student, not just in terms of, yes, they'll be able to take the actual AP exam, but also just kind of moving forward and understanding why our government looks the way it does, how it actually operates as a democracy and as a republic, and where the Constitution kind of fits in with all of that. As well as obviously their civil liberties and stuff. So I believe it's one of the more relevant courses that they'll actually take in their high school career. And maybe that's just me being a little bit optimistic and being a little bit in love with the content, but I truly do believe that. So for a little bit about myself very quickly, again, like I said, I've been teaching here for 16 years. I've been teaching some form of government here for quite a little while. I also am involved in a lot of governmental stuff outside of school as well, and so I'm able to bring a number of different experiences to the table with regards to that. I've served on different various committees for a United States congressperson. I've served as campaign manager for Pennsylvania state senator, and have volunteered in a number of other roles in local and state and national politics. So hopefully that will kind of bring a different perspective to this class that maybe they're not necessarily always going to be able to get in other circumstances. Personally, also about me, I'm married. I've got 4 little kids who kind of dominate my time. They are 10, 8, 6, and 5. So they do certainly dominate my time when I'm outside of school, but I think that that's okay. I think family is pretty important. Just a little bit then about this class. So it is a college level class. Think of it as basically a 101 type class where it's a survey course. We're going to hit somewhat depth, but we're really kind of very surfacey about a lot of the different topics here that has to do with government. It is a college class though. So I would treat it like a college class. They are expected to do assignments whether I'm grading them or not. They're expected to do reading whether I'm grading it or not. They will have reading most nights, just like a college class would. So those expectations are fairly high here. The goal of this course is to prepare them for the actual AP exam. And if you aren't aware, the AP exam is $95. They have to register for it by March 12th. I believe that is the date. And then the actual exam itself will be on May 3rd this year. It is actually, we have the privilege of being the very first test out of all the AP tests. It can be a little bit difficult. It is generally 55 multiple choice questions. Then you have 4 different essays that they also have to be able to do. Applying, it's not just like rote memorization. It's not multiple choice. Which court case dealt with this particular issue? It's not really like that. It's a lot of application of what they'll actually be learning. So it can be demanding. It is obviously a college level course, but man, this is a great value. I really wish a lot of these courses would have been available to me when I was in high school. But like I said, it's $95. But if they can get a 3 or better, most colleges will accept this as a government credit for them, and not just a government, but like a general education credit for them, which can, depending on what college you go to, can save you anywhere from $1,500 to a couple thousand, depending on, again, which college you end up going to. So I think that it ends up paying for itself pretty quickly if they're going to go into college. And even if they don't go into college, like I mentioned before, I think that this class does actually have a lot of value and real-world application as well. Just so you understand kind of the basic ideas about what they'll be covering in this class, we're going to be talking about the foundations of American democracy. So really getting into a lot of the foundational documents, the foundational reasoning, the philosophy behind why we have the type of system of government that we do, why we don't have the Articles of Confederation, for example, something that we're going over actually even right now as you would be watching this video. And we'll obviously be talking about the Constitution, why it is the way that it is, why it was developed the way that it was developed, and why it includes obviously the protections that it does. We're going to then talk about the interactions between the branches of government, how obviously Congress interacts with the executive branch and the judicial branch and how they work together, how they're supposed to be co-equal branches of government, and how that works in practical senses, though, as well, and why sometimes those things start to get a little bit skewed, and then what happens historically as well as with current events. And I will try to incorporate current events as much as possible. Obviously, there's lots of things that we can talk about today about current events with government and all, and we'll try to incorporate that as much as possible. But again, the point of this class really is to get them ready for the AP exam. And the AP exam will not include current event stuff. Doesn't mean we won't talk about current event stuff, and we can use like the application skill that they will need to develop in order to talk about current event stuff, and how can we apply the principles of the Constitution to what we see happening today, for example, with an executive order that President Biden happens to sign. So we can look at it through that context and still make it useful as well as relevant to today. We'll talk about civil liberties and where those come from and why the ones are included, civil rights as well, but including why the Bill of Rights includes what it does, for example, and what that really means. We'll look at a lot of different Supreme Court cases. There are certain required documents and required Supreme Court cases that they will have to become very familiar with, and they are aware of what those will be. But we're going to look at a lot of the different Supreme Court cases and how they've kind of defined what some of our rights mean. Because as we've seen, our rights aren't limited. In general, our rights obviously are supposed to be making us as free as possible up until the point where our rights starts to infringe on somebody else's rights. But that happens, and so when those rights begin to infringe on other people's rights, who wins, And so what has the courts said in the past? What do they say today? And what does that really mean for us? If a court makes a ruling about a particular topic, that's not set in stone. That's set into case law, but that's not set in stone yet. And so we'll talk about what that means for today, for the past, and for the future as well. When we talk about all those different things, we'll also, of course, talk about political ideologies and talk about what it means to be a conservative, what it means to be a liberal, and how those kind of terminologies interact and interplay with what it means to be a Republican versus a Democrat versus a Libertarian versus a Green Party. And so we'll try to get into that as much as possible as well. And then we'll be wrapping up the whole discussion with, in general, basically political participation. So obviously that includes things like voting, but obviously not just that, but also, again, political parties. Specifics about like where our political parties came from, what our founding fathers thought about that, and what role political parties play in our current electorate. So overall, again, my main goal is to try and get your student ready to take that AP exam. Again, this is only the second time that we've offered this course here at this school. First time we had a lot of success with a lot of students getting a lot of really good scores. Had a number of 5s, actually. If you aren't familiar with how AP scoring works, it scored from 1 to a 5. And generally, colleges will be accepting anything from a 3, 4, or 5. We had a number of 5s and 4s and 3s as well. So we had success the last semester. I expect that to continue here with this class. Looks like we got a good bunch of kids. But if you have any questions at any point, feel free to shoot me an email. My email is C. My first name is Chris, so it's my first initial, C, Buck, B-U-C-K, @cacalico.org. And, of course, my email is on the website, the school website as well. That's the best and easiest way to get a hold of me. You're, of course, welcome to give a call to the school as well. Obviously, during the school day, it's difficult to have a phone call conversation. So email is the best way. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help you because, again, my goal here is to make your student as successful as possible.